I do well?" Gaius asked. Rufus reached out, took his hand. "You did not act from anger. You acted from virtue. That is all philosophy ever asked of you." Gaius bowed his head. "I thought I had to become stronger than emotion," he said. "No," Rufus whispered. "You had to become wiser than it." And as the sun set over Rome, a student and his teacher sat beneath the olive trees, quiet, clear, and unshaken. Rufus died at dawn. He had asked for no procession, no monument, just to be buried beside the olive tree under which he had taught for decades. Gaius Septimus stood alone at the grave as the sun lifted over the horizon. "No marble will mark you," Gaius whispered, "but every thought I think rightly is yours." He placed his teacher's writing tablet beside the stone. Not as an offering, but a continuation. A gardener arrived quietly, unaware of the significance of the man buried there. Just an old slave in his mind. Gaius turned to him and said, "That man taught emperors. And slaves. And senators. He taught that you own nothing except your response. And that makes you the richest man alive." The gardener said nothing. But years later, he would tell the story. Because truth, once spoken with clarity, never dies. Elias stirred lentils on the stove as Naomi chopped garlic. The apartment was warm with music and shared silence. It had been weeks since the job offer he declined. No new ones yet. But peace had grown in him like a tree. Naomi set down her knife and looked at him. "Whatever you're doing," she said, "I see it. It's not just calm, it's strength." He smiled. "You know what's crazy? I used to think strength was being loud. Being right. Now it feels more like being still. Like standing in the center of the storm and knowing it can't touch you unless you invite it in." "You sound like an old man." "Good. The Stoics were old men." She laughed. "So now what? You gonna start wearing robes and talking to pigeons?" He handed her a spoon. "Taste this and then tell me I haven't reached philosopher-level enlightenment." She tasted. Paused. "You might be onto something." Gaius Septimus, now grey at the temples, sat at his desk penning a letter to a young student of his own. "You ask how to remain untouched by the chaos of Rome. I tell you, do not flee the world. Engage it. But know that you are not what happens to you. You are what you choose in response." He stopped and smiled. It was what Rufus had told him. And now it was his turn to pass it on. Not a creed. A code. You are not your anger, nor your sorrow. You are not the shadows that pass through the house. You are the house. Let the shadows come. Let them go. He sealed the letter and sent it by courier. Somewhere, a fire would catch. Elias hit publish. The video was simple. Just him, speaking into a mic. No graphics. No viral hooks. Just the truth. What if your anger isn't real? What if your sadness isn't you? The Stoics believed emotions are judgments. Not facts. You're not sad, you're thinking sad thoughts. You're not angry, you're responding to a thought like it's an attack. Control your mind. Control your world. He closed his laptop. No expectation. A single comment appeared minutes later. This is exactly what I needed today. Thank you." Elias stared at it for a long moment. One person. One flicker. That was enough. Years later, Gaius stood before a crowd, not to command, not to defend, but to teach. He quoted Epictetus. He invoked Seneca. He did not ask them to stop feeling, but to examine their feelings. To see them for what they were. Ignoring emotion is not stoicism, he said. Understanding it is. The crowd did not cheer. They listened. And that, for a Stoic, was the highest victory. Elias stood again on the roof of his building. No meditation tonight. Just gratitude. He looked up at the stars and whispered. I'm not my fear. Then, I'm not my thoughts. Then, finally, I am the fire. Not what it burns. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of fluorescent lights. A few teenagers slouched in chairs. Phones in laps. Eyes elsewhere. Elias stood in front of them, not as a teacher, but as a guest speaker. Naomi had invited him. They don't need lectures, she'd said. They need something real. So he told a story. Not about war. Not about empire. But about emotion. I used to think I was my anger, Elias began. That if I was mad, then I had to yell. If I was scared, then something was wrong. But what if emotions are just visitors? What if you don't have to obey every one of them? They stared at him. He pulled a dry erase marker from his pocket and drew a circle on the board. This is you. Then a wave passing through the circle. This is your emotion. It's not the circle. It's not you. It just moves through you unless you chase it, or cling to it, or let it name you. One kid raised a hand. So, like. I can feel something and not act on it. Elias smiled. Exactly. That's the whole game. They didn't applaud. But one of them scribbled something in a notebook. And maybe that was enough. Gaius Septimus sat by the forum's edge, speaking to a boy barely 12. The child was no one, no noble lineage, no title. Just a curious listener. My father says I need to be strong, the boy said. Then learn to listen to yourself before you listen to others, Gaius replied. But I get mad sometimes. Gaius smiled gently. So do I. But you're a philosopher. That means I wrestle with my emotions every day, Gaius said. Not that I win every time, but that I keep showing up to the fight. The boy furrowed his brow. What if I lose? Then you begin again. They sat in silence for a while. Then Gaius stood. I'll walk with you to your father. But remember this, strong men build walls. Wise men build doors. The boy nodded. Years later, he would remember that line and pass it to his own son. Elias checked his inbox. A subject line caught his eye. Your video saved me. He opened it. It was from a young man in Warsaw. He'd been on the edge. Depression. Debt. Alone. But something about the video, about the idea that he wasn't the voice in his head, had snapped him awake. Had helped him breathe again. Elias stared at the screen. It wasn't pride he felt. It was responsibility. He picked up his phone. Opened his notes. And began writing the next script. Not because he had something to prove. But because he had something to share. Gaius, now old and worn, stood at the threshold of his villa one last time. His student, one of many over the years, stood beside him. Will you write your memoirs? The student asked. No, Gaius said. That would make it about me. It was never about me. Then what was it about? Gaius looked at the garden, where olives bloomed again. It was about seeing clearly. And teaching others to see. He walked inside and closed the door. And though his name faded from the records of history, his ideas lived on, carried by students who taught other students, who in turn lit fires in minds across centuries. Elias sat beneath a maple tree in Prospect Park, watching leaves fall like thoughts. He didn't feel happy. But he wasn't chasing happiness anymore. He felt grounded. He felt honest. A child passed by, crying. The mother flustered. Elias smiled gently as she apologized. "It's okay," he said. "She's just feeling something. It'll pass." The woman smiled in return. The child quieted. And somewhere, beneath the skin of ordinary life, a tiny spark was passed. Not loud. Not showy. Just fire. You are not your emotions. You are not your sadness, or your anger, or your fear. You are the one who sees them come and lets them go. This is what the Stoics believed. That within you is a place untouched by the world. That your mind, properly trained, becomes not a battlefield, but a sanctuary. And once you've tasted that stillness, you'll never settle for chaos again.
Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Your time, your attention, and your presence here truly mean a lot. If this story spoke to you, I hope it stays with you, and maybe lights a small fire of calm in your everyday life. More to come. Stay grounded, stay present.